Did you have the weapons in your room with you when they found you?
Just a gun.
So you weren't trying to get away with it?
The gun was to be given to somebody to clean and hide.
Who are you going to give it to?
I can't tell you that. Enough people's lives have been ruined.
You told Terry that. So someone else knew this was going to happen?
Yes, and his name has never been mentioned anywhere.
It started out like any other Southern teenage romance. The pastor's daughter found a bad boy that she just couldn't resist. He was a couple of years older and didn't quite put her dad's mind at ease, but his little girl was happy. At 16 years old, it was expected for Erin Caffey to have a rebellious phase, but not quite like this.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
This is Tommy Gaston. I've got a man that's been shot.
It seemed like a relatively normal evening in Alba, Texas, but Tommy Gaston was in for the surprise of his life when his neighbor, Erin Caffey, crawled to his house, barely clinging to life. The scene was horrific. In the distance, his house was engulfed in flames. Tommy immediately called 911.
All right, sir, I have a few questions that I need to ask you, okay? Is he conscious?
Yes,
And is he breathing?
yes.
When did this happen?
I don't know, just a little bit ago. And we've also got a house on fire out here.
And the house is on fire? Is the person who shot him still nearby, sir?
Yes, he's right here at me.
You shot him?
No, I didn't. I don't know any more details. I've got to hang up and help him.
Sir, I have to ask you these questions. Okay, they're en route. Is there any serious bleeding?
Yes, he's bleeding.
Okay, is he completely awake?
Yes, he's awake.
Okay, what part of the body was injured?
I don't know, but I've got to go.
Sir, I need to know where he was shot. I need to know where he was shot at.
I don't know.
First responders rushed to the scene, finding the truth of the incident much darker and more twisted than they could have imagined. It wasn't just a man suffering from gunshot wounds, but a man who had also just watched his entire family be killed. This was no random break-in. Terry knew the assailant and made that clear to police. The Caffey family was the picture of a wholesome suburban family with Christian values. Terry and his wife Penny had 3 children together. 16-year-old Erin was their eldest and only daughter. The boys, Matthew and Tyler, were 13 and 8. Terry was a pastor, and the Caffeys were very involved with their church. Erin sang in the church choir and often sang solos, with her voice sometimes moving the church crowd to tears. Erin's rebellious phase manifested in the form of her 18-year-old boyfriend, Charlie Wilkinson. As any parent would be, Erin's parents were slightly apprehensive of him at first. Terry recalls the first time Charlie was invited over for dinner, where he was immediately left with a bad impression. Terry greeted him by saying, "You must be Charlie," to which he responded, "And you are?" Despite the rude response, this didn't initially raise too many alarms, and Charlie continued to join the Caffeys for dinner, even attending church with them. Although this could seem like just a rude response or a benign example of defiance, it's actually a significant indication of Charlie's antisocial traits. At 18 years old and meeting his girlfriend's parents for the first time, any typical teenager would have been more careful and respectful when responding to Terry's greeting. The fact that Charlie said, "And you are?" indicates that he likely saw himself as an equal to Erin's father. It's possible that Erin contributed to Charlie's confidence and lack of respect. She might have been speaking poorly of her family to Charlie, which could explain his arrogant attitude. As time went on, Terry and Penny noticed a change in Erin's behavior. She was closed off to everyone except Charlie. They would often seclude themselves from the rest of the churchgoers after service, and sometimes engaged in public displays of affection that were seen as inappropriate for a Sunday service. The parents tried to put a stop to it by limiting the time the couple spent together. They set rules such as Charlie hanging out at their house so that they could supervise. He was to leave by 9 p.m. on school nights, and Erin could use her cell phone to talk to him until 10 p.m. This didn't slow their quickly intensifying relationship. Charlie bought Erin a promise ring. Erin's obsession with Charlie, coupled with her parents' disapproval, led her to take drastic measures. Charlie's antisocial behavior, Erin's isolation, and the rebellious phase took a dark turn that no one saw coming. On that fateful night, the gruesome plan unfolded. Terry was barely alive, the house was burning, and the truth of what had happened was about to be revealed. Terry Caffey, despite his grievous injuries, managed to provide crucial information to the authorities. He identified his daughter Erin's boyfriend, Charlie Wilkinson, as the shooter. The investigation into the horrifying events of that night began to reveal the full extent of the twisted plot. As Terry lay recovering in the hospital, detectives pieced together the sequence of events. Charlie Wilkinson, along with his friend Charles Wade and Wade's girlfriend Bobby Johnson, had conspired with Erin to murder the Caffey family. The motive? Erin's parents' disapproval of her relationship with Charlie and their attempts to keep them apart. On the night of March 1, 2008, the four of them drove to the Caffey home in the early hours of the morning. Charlie and Charles entered the house armed with guns and knives. They first went to the master bedroom where Terry and Penny were sleeping. The brutal attack left Penny dead and Terry severely injured. They then moved on to the rooms of Erin's younger brothers, Matthew and Tyler, killing them in their sleep. Erin, who was in on the plan, remained outside in the car with Bobby, waiting for the gruesome deed to be completed. After the murders, Charlie and Charles set the house on fire, hoping to destroy any evidence. But Terry's miraculous survival and his determination to seek help thwarted their plans. The fire, however, did its job in making the crime scene even more chaotic and challenging for investigators. The arrests came quickly. Erin, Charlie, Charles, and Bobby were all taken into custody and charged with multiple counts of capital murder. The community of Alba, Texas, was left in shock, struggling to comprehend how a seemingly typical teenage romance could devolve into such a horrific tragedy. During the trial, the depth of Erin's involvement and the cold-bloodedness of the plot became clear. Prosecutors painted a chilling picture of a young girl so blinded by love and rebellion that she was willing to orchestrate the murder of her entire family. Charlie, who was depicted as the mastermind, showed no remorse for his actions.
Yes, and his name has never been mentioned anywhere.
If you're truly sorry about what happened, do you not think that to actually say who this other person was would show him that you really meant what you said?
I will tell you that he was the original person that was supposed to do it.
Are you going to tell me who it was?
No,
Why not?
because he had nothing to do with it and there's no way he could have stopped it.
Like I said, this whole interview has been about you apologizing for what you did.
Well, I did, and I'm very sorry for what I did.
When Charlie says, "I'm very sorry for what I did," he sounds sincere, but his tone seems matter-of-fact, or almost like he is sorry, but he was going to do this no matter what, like it was inevitable that he was going to commit these murders.
But surely this would show that you're completely sorry by making the people that could have stopped it pay a price for it. I know the story, but I just think that if this interview carries any weight, if what you told me is true, that you genuinely are sorry, I mean, you've gone in, you clearly find it difficult talking about this person who was looking after the gun for you, who was asked to do this originally, who backed out, who knew you were going to do it, and yet didn't say anything about it.
Promise was made and I can't break it. I still can't tell you this guy's name.
Charles and Bobby, though less central to the planning, were equally culpable in the execution of the plan. Erin's defense tried to argue that she was manipulated by Charlie and that she was not fully aware of the extent of the violence that would occur. However, the evidence presented showed a different story. Text messages, testimonies, and Erin's own admissions revealed her active participation in the planning and execution of the murders. In the end, justice was served. Charlie Wilkinson and Charles Wade were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Bobby Johnson, who had a lesser role, received a 40-year sentence. Erin Caffey, given her age and the argument that she was influenced by Charlie, was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years. Terry Caffey, the lone survivor, faced the unimaginable task of rebuilding his life. He forgave his daughter and often visited her in prison, holding on to his faith and the belief that Erin could one day find redemption. His story became one of resilience and forgiveness, offering a glimmer of hope in an otherwise dark and twisted tale. The case of the Caffey family remains one of the most shocking and disturbing examples of how love, rebellion, and manipulation can lead to unimaginable horrors. It serves as a stark reminder of the potential darkness that can lurk within the human soul and the devastating consequences of letting that darkness take control.